up will determine whether or not we hold the Senate. David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler are two tremendous people. Unfortunately, in Georgia, they're using the same horrible Dominion system, and it's already been out that hundreds of thousands, think of it, hundreds of thousands of absentee ballots have been requested. You check it out, who's requesting those ballots. The difference is, it's one state, and we will have our eyes on it like nobody's ever watched anything before, because we have to win those 2 Senate seats. The tremendous success we had in the House of Representatives and the tremendous success we've had so far in the Senate, unexpected success all over the country and right here in Washington. It is statistically impossible that the person, me, that led the charge, lost. The greatest pollsters, the real pollsters, not the ones that had us down 17 points in Wisconsin when we actually won, or the ones that had us down 4 or 5 points in Florida and we won by many points, or had us even and down in Texas and we won by a lot. Not those pollsters, but real pollsters, pollsters that are fair and honest, said we can't understand a thing like this. It's never happened before. You led the country to victory, and you were the only one that was lost. It's not possible. The Speaker of the House of a certain state said, "Sir, I expected to lose my seat, and instead, because of you, and because of that incredible charge and all of those rallies, we had a tremendous victory. And everybody knows it. You were much more popular than me, sir, except I got many more votes than you did. And it's impossible that that happened. There is something wrong. I'll tell you what's wrong. Voter fraud." Here's an example. This is Michigan. At 6:31 in the morning, a vote dump of 149,772 votes came in unexpectedly. We were winning by a lot. That batch was received in horror. Nobody knows anything about it. By the way, there's your line. This is one of many. Here's what is normal. And all of a sudden, look at that. This is normal, normal. Look, even here, normal. And then, boom, all of a sudden, I go from winning by a lot to losing a tight race. It's corrupt. Detroit is corrupt. I have a lot of friends in Detroit. They know it. But Detroit is totally corrupt. Look at this. Look at this. That's at 6:31 in the morning.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Make sure you hit that like button. The more likes that we get in a short period of time, the more people the algorithm will bring back into the chat to hang out with us. Make sure you share this video. This live is not being promoted anywhere. It's not even on the White House website. I don't know if they're trying to censor it or what, but you need to share this video so everyone can see it.
Difficult to check signatures. Why? You'll have to ask them. But without a signature match or check, it doesn't matter. They found thousands and thousands of votes that were out of whack, all against me. This was during a recount that I didn't even think mattered. They found many thousands of votes, and that recount didn't matter. The one that matters is the one that's going on now. That because of the fact it's so close, they had to, by law, give another recount. But the recount has to be a recount where they check the signatures. Otherwise, they're just checking the same dishonest thing. It won't matter. In this case, the signatures on envelopes are the only thing that is relevant. We will compare the signature on the envelope to the signatures from past elections, and we will find that many thousands of people signed these ballots illegally. The Democrats had this election rigged right from the beginning. They used the pandemic, sometimes referred to as the China virus, where it originated, as an excuse to mail out tens of millions of ballots, which ultimately led to a big part of the fraud, a fraud that the whole world is watching. And there is no one happier right now than China. Many people received 2, 3, and 4 ballots. They were sent to dead people by the thousands. In fact, dead people, and we have many examples, filled out ballots, made applications, and then voted, which is even worse. In other words, dead people went through a process. Some have been dead for 25 years. Millions of votes were cast illegally in the swing states alone. And if that's the case, the results of the individual swing states must be overturned, and overturned immediately. Some people say that's too far out. That's too harsh. Well, does that mean we take a president, and we've just elected a president, where the votes were fraudulent? No, it means you have to turn over the election. And everybody knows, without going much further, and they've seen the evidence, but they don't want to talk about it, what a disaster this election was, a total catastrophe. But we're going to show it, and hopefully the courts, in particular, the Supreme Court of the United States, will see it, and respectfully, hopefully they will do what's right for our country, because our country cannot live with this kind of an election. We could say, let's go on to the next one. But no, we have to look also at our past. We can't let this happen. Maybe you'll have a revote, but I don't think that's appropriate. When those votes are corrupt, when they're irregular, when they get caught, they're terminated. And I very easily win. In all states, I very easily win these swing states. Just like I won them at 10 o'clock in the evening of the election. So we're not looking to show you 25 faulty or fraudulent votes, which don't mean anything because it doesn't overturn the state, or 50 or 100. We're showing you hundreds of thousands, far more than we need, far more than the margin, far more than the law requires. We can show many times what is necessary to win the state. The media knows this, but they don't want to report it. In fact, they outright refuse to even cover it because they know the result if they do. Even what I'm saying now will be demeaned and disparaged, but that's okay. I just keep on going forward because I'm representing 74 million people, and in fact, I'm also representing all of the people that didn't vote for me. The mail-in voting scam is the latest part of their 4-year effort to overturn the results of the 2016 election, and it's been like living in hell. Our opponents have proven many times, again and again, that they will say and do anything to get back into power. The corrupt forces who are registering dead voters and stuffing ballot boxes are the same people who have perpetrated one phony and fraudulent hoax after another. You've been watching it now for 4 years. These entrenched interests oppose our movement because we put America first. They don't put America first. And we're returning power to you, the American people. They don't want America first. They only want power for themselves. They want to make money. That's why they don't want me as your president. I've been investigated from soon after I announced I was running for president, when I immediately went to #1 in the Republican primary polls. The investigations never stopped. They went on for 4 years. And I won them all. I beat them all. Russia, Russia, Russia. The impeachment hoax, and so much more. Robert Mueller spent $48 million of taxpayer money investigating me for 2.5 years, issued over 2,800 subpoenas, executed nearly 500 search warrants, issued 230 orders for communications records, and conducted 500 witness interviews, all looking to take me down. There was no collusion in the end, none whatsoever. Senator Marco Rubio, the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, stated the committee found no evidence that then-candidate Donald Trump or his campaign colluded with the Russian government. And I thank Senator Rubio for that statement. Now I hear that these same people that failed to get me in Washington have sent every piece of information to New York so that they can try to get me there. It's all been gone over and over again. For $48 million, you go through tax returns, you go through everything. The New York Attorney General, who recently ran for office, campaigned without knowing me, stating, "We will join with law enforcement and other attorneys general across this nation in removing this president from office." I never met her. It's important that everybody understand, she said, that the days of Donald Trump are coming to an end. And all it's been is a big investigation in Washington and New York and any place else that can investigate, because that's what they want to do. They want to take not me, but us down. And we can never let them do that. Everything's been looked at. A friend of mine who's very smart said, "You've probably seen more than anybody else. You've probably been investigated more than anybody else. And for you to come out with a clean bill of health makes you probably the cleanest person in this country." Some people in this administration, but fortunately not all, have been beaten down and disparaged. They just disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to them. Why aren't they active? Why aren't they involved? There's so much to be involved in. The corruption is so rampant. They just couldn't take it anymore. They were threatened by Democrats with impeachment, and horrible things were said about them, and they're good people. Even recently, the head of the GSA was hounded and harassed, as she reported, like she has never been before. What can I say? We caught Comey cold. We caught McCabe cold. We caught them all. We're still waiting for a report from a man named Durham, who I have never spoken to and I have never met. They can go after me before the election as much as they want. But unfortunately, Mr. Durham didn't want to go after these people or have anything to do with going after them before the election. So who knows if he is ever going to even do a report. But if you look at the lies and the leaks and the illegal acts and behavior done by so many people in their desire to hurt the President of the United States, something should happen. The hardest thing I have to do is explain why nothing is happening with all of these people that got caught spying on my campaign. It's never happened before, and it should never happen again to a president of the United States. All you have to do is watch the hearings and see for yourself. The evidence is overwhelming. The fraud that we've collected in recent weeks is overwhelming, having to do with our election. Everyone is saying, wow, the evidence is overwhelming when they get to see it. But really, it's too late to change the course of an election. It's too late to change the outcome. In fact, there is still plenty of time to certify the correct winner of the election. And that's what we're fighting to do. But no matter when it happens, when they see fraud, when they see false votes, and when those votes number far more than is necessary, you can't let another person steal that election from you. All over the country, people are together in holding up signs, "Stop the steal." To understand how we will challenge this fraud, it is important to know the problems with mail-in balloting. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Nevada, Georgia, Arizona, and most other states allowed anyone to get an absentee ballot and cast their vote without showing any ID. The voting took place entirely on the honor system. No identification of any kind was required. Most Americans would also be shocked to learn that no state in the country verifies United States citizenship as a condition for voting in federal elections. This is a national disgrace. No other advanced country conducts elections this way. Many European countries have instituted major restrictions on mail-in voting specifically because they recognize the nearly unlimited potential for fraud. Out of 42 European nations, all but 2 prohibit absentee ballots entirely for people who reside inside the country, or else they require those who need absentee ballots to show a very, very powerful ID. Throughout the Democrat effort to dramatically expand mail-in voting, the Democrat Party leaders were also feverishly working to block measures designed to protect against fraud, such as signature verification, residency verification, or voter ID, and citizenship confirmation was almost unthought of that we should ask for it. Can you believe this? These are not the actions of people who want fair elections. These are the actions of people who want to steal elections, who are willing to create fraud. The only conceivable reason why you would block common sense measures to verify legal eligibility for voting is you are trying to encourage, enable, solicit, or carry out fraud. It is important for Americans to understand that these destructive changes to our election laws were not a necessary response to the pandemic. The pandemic simply gave the Democrats an excuse to do what they have been trying to do for many, many years. In fact, the very first bill that House Democrats introduced when Nancy Pelosi became Speaker was an attempt to mandate universal mail-in voting and eliminate measures such as voter ID, which is so necessary. Dramatically eroding the integrity of our elections was the Democrats' #1 priority for a simple reason. They wanted to steal the 2020 presidential election. All of the Democrat efforts to expand mail-in balloting laid the groundwork for the systematic and pervasive fraud that occurred in this election. In Pennsylvania, large amounts of mail-in and absentee ballots were processed illegally and in secret in Philadelphia and Allegheny counties without our observers present. They were not allowed to be present. In fact, they weren't even allowed in the same room. They were thrown out of the building, and they looked from outside in, but they had no way of even seeing because there were no windows, and the windows that were there were boarded up. Democrats even went to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court to block observers from receiving access. There is only one possible reason that the corrupt Democrat political machine would oppose transparency during the vote counting. It's because they know they are hiding illegal activity. It's very simple. This is an egregious, inexcusable, and irreversible harm that stains the entire election. Yet this unprecedented practice of excluding our observers, our vote watchers, as some people call them, occurred in Democrat-run cities and key states all across the nation. Here are just some of the additional facts that we've uncovered. Many voters all across Pennsylvania received 2 ballots in the mail, and many others received mail-in ballots for which they never applied. So many got ballots, they didn't even know what they were for. And again, so many received more than 1 ballot, in some cases more than 2 ballots. And they happened to be, for the most part, Democrats. In Fayette County, Pennsylvania, multiple voters received ballots that were already filled out. They didn't know what happened. In Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, a poll watcher overheard unregistered voters being told to return later to try to vote under a different name. Tens of thousands of voters across Pennsylvania were treated differently based on whether they were Republicans or Democrats. Voters who submitted flawed ballots in some Democrat precincts were notified and asked to fix their ballots, while Republican precincts, and in particular Republican voters, were not so notified, which plainly violates the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution. If you are a Democrat, we're going to fix up your ballot, make sure it's perfect. If you are a Republican, don't even talk about it. In Michigan, a career employee of the city of Detroit witnessed city workers coaching voters to vote straight Democrat while accompanying them to watch who they were voting for, violating the law and the sanctity of the secret ballot. You can't do that. The same worker says she was instructed not to ask for any ID and not to attempt to validate any signatures. She was also told to illegally backdate ballots, many, many ballots, received after the deadline. This is something that is so unconstitutional. And she estimates that thousands and thousands of ballots were improperly backdated by her and many others. Other witnesses in Detroit also saw election officials counting batches of the same ballots many times, as well as illegally duplicating ballots. One observer testified to seeing boxes and boxes of ballots, all bearing the same signature. Another observer in Detroit gave sworn testimony that he saw countless invalid ballots that did not belong to properly registered voters, and then witnessed election workers in Wayne County entering fake birth dates into the system in order to illegally count them. Witnesses have signed sworn affidavits. In other words, you go to jail if you lie, testifying that after election officials announced the last absentee votes had been received, a batch of tens of thousands of ballots arrived, many without envelopes, all voting for Democrats. In Wisconsin, a record number of voters were categorized as indefinitely confined, a status reserved for severely disabled individuals, also for the elderly, that allow them to vote without showing ID. Last year, approximately 70,000 people claimed this status statewide. This year, the number miraculously was nearly 250,000 voters after election officials in Milwaukee and Dane counties, a couple of the most corrupt political places in our country, urged citizens to improperly register under this status. And register they did in levels that don't exist. In Wisconsin, there are approximately 70,000 absentee ballots that do not have matching ballot applications as required by law. In Georgia, 9 observers have testified to seeing countless irregular ballots without the creases or typical markings indicating that the ballots did not arrive in envelopes as required. A poll watcher in Fulton County estimated that approximately 98% of the large number of unusually pristine ballots that she witnessed were for Biden. A highly unusual number. In addition, thousands of uncounted ballots were discovered in Floyd, Fayette, and Walton counties weeks after the election. And these ballots were mostly from Trump voters. They weren't counted. They were from Trump voters. In Detroit, everybody saw the tremendous conflict and the horrible way that the 2 Republican canvassers were treated, so horribly, because they wouldn't vote when they saw that 71% of the precincts didn't balance. And also, there were more votes than there were voters. Think of that. You had more votes than you had voters. That's an easy one to figure. And it's by the thousands. In Arizona, in-person voters whose ballots produced error messages from tabulation machines were told to press a button that resulted in their votes not being counted. Also in Arizona, the Attorney General announced that mail-in ballots had been stolen from mailboxes and hidden under a rock. In Clark County, Nevada, where most of the state's voters reside, the standards for matching a signature using the signature verification machine were intentionally lowered to allow large numbers of ballots to be counted that otherwise would never have passed muster. This machine was set at the lowest level. According to one report, in order to test the process, 9 voters in Clark County cast ballots with intentionally incorrect signatures, and 8 of the 9 ballots were accepted and counted. They said you could sign your name as Santa Claus, and it would be accepted. Last week, the Clark County Commission threw out the results of a local election after the registrar reported finding, quote, discrepancies that we can't explain. Also in Nevada, some voters were entered into a raffle for more than a dozen gift cards worth as much as $250 if they could prove they had voted. This took place on Indian reservations. One of the most significant indications of widespread fraud is the extraordinarily low rejection rates for mail-in ballots in many key states. These are the states that I had to win. In swing state after swing state, the number of ballots rejected has been dramatically lower than what would have been expected based on prior experience. That means years and years of voting. In Georgia, just 0.2%, that's substantially less than 1%, of mail-in ballots have been rejected. In other words, almost none have been rejected. They took everything. Nothing was rejected practically, compared to 6.4% in 2016. And there are those that think that 6.4 was a low number. So think of it. Almost none were rejected. And the previous election, 6.4% were rejected. We have seen similar declines in Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Michigan. Ballots weren't rejected, especially if they happen to be in Democrat areas. These irregularities are inexplicable unless there is a deliberate effort to accept ineligible ballots or fraudulent ballots. In Pennsylvania, the Secretary of State and the state Supreme Court, in essence, abolished signature verification requirements just weeks prior to the election in violation of state law. You're not allowed to do that. It has to be approved by the legislature. A judge can't do it. A state can't do it. An official can't do it. The only one that can do it is the legislature. The reason for this is clear. They were not verifying signatures because they know the ballots have not been filled out by the voters in whose names they were cast. In other words, people filled them out that had nothing to do with the names on the ballot. A simple recount of the ballots under these circumstances only compounds the fraud. The only way to determine whether there was an honest vote is to conduct a full review of the envelopes in the relevant states. You will find that many of them, tens of thousands, have fraudulent signatures. A full forensic audit is required to ensure that only legal ballots from lawfully registered voters that were properly cast are included in the final count. This election is about great voter fraud, fraud that has never been seen like this before. It's about poll watchers who were not allowed to watch. So illegal. It's about ballots that poured in, and nobody but a few knew where they came from, but they were counted, and they weren't for me. It's about big leads on election night, tremendous leads, leads where I was being congratulated for a decisive, easy victory, and all of a sudden, by morning or a couple of days later, those leads rapidly evaporated. It's about numbers of ballots that were sent that nobody knew where they came from. It's about machinery that was defective, machinery that was stopped during certain parts of the evening, miraculously to open with more votes. It was about many other things, but above all, it was about fraud. This election was rigged. Everybody knows it. I don't mind if I lose an election, but I want to lose an election fair and square. What I don't want to do is have it stolen from the American people. That's what we're fighting for, and we have no choice to be doing that. We already have the proof, we already have the evidence, and it's very clear. Many people in the media and even judges so far have refused to accept it. They know it's true, they know it's there, they know who won the election, but they refuse to say, you're right. Our country needs somebody to say you're right. Ultimately, I am prepared to accept any accurate election result. And I hope that Joe Biden is as well. But we already have the proof. We already have tens of thousands of ballots more than we need to overturn all of these states that we're talking about. This is an election for the highest office in the greatest country in the history of the world. Every reasonable American should be able to agree, based on what we have already documented, that we need a systematic analysis of the mail-in ballots to review the envelopes. It's about the signature. And if they're on the envelopes, we can only review the envelopes, and that will tell us everything. This is the absolute minimum we should expect. This is not just about my campaign, although it has a lot to do with who's going to be your next president. This is about restoring faith and confidence in American elections. This is about our democracy and the sacred rights that generations of Americans have fought, bled, and died to secure. Nothing is more urgent or more important. The only ballots that should count in this election are those cast by eligible voters who are citizens of our country, residents of the states in which they voted, and who cast their ballots in a lawful manner before the legal deadline. Moreover, we must never again have an election in which there is not a reliable and transparent system to verify the eligibility, identity, and residency of every single person who casts a ballot, a very, very cherished ballot. Many very smart people have congratulated me on all we've done. The biggest tax cuts in history, regulation cuts, the biggest in history. We rebuilt our military. We took care of our vets like never before. Space Force, and so much more. But then they went on to say, as big and as important as these events were, the single greatest achievement in your presidency will be exactly what you're doing right now, voter integrity for our nation. It's more important than any of the things that we discussed. If we don't root out the fraud, the tremendous and horrible fraud that's taken place in our 2020 election, we don't have a country anymore. So with the resolve and support of the American people, we will restore honesty and integrity to our elections, and we will restore trust in our system of government. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Okay, so this is what's going on. That just went live and I was notified, but what I realized is no one else was covering it, and I'm sure all of you have seen that too. It's not being covered anywhere else. That's because they did not announce that the president was speaking. They did not show it on the whitehouse.com. They did not show it anywhere where news is typically broadcasted. I had to go to the president's Facebook page to see that that speech actually happened an hour ago. But as far as I know, no one's seen it. And it's because it's being censored. They do not want people to see that speech. They do not want to see that because that's the first time the president has really spoke on the fraud since everyone has submitted, all the evidence. For all the little crybabies in the chat, they're like, well, I need to see evidence. Well, you should have been here yesterday. You should have been here the day before. You should have been here the day before that, because we've been seeing evidence for 3 days now. And it's not just people saying stuff. There's charts. There's all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of stuff. On top of that, use your brain. How many Biden channels do you see? None. How many people out there doing Biden rallies other than the riots? None. Okay, how do you believe that there's so much support in that direction? And this is from an unbiased perspective. I'm not saying one way or another. I'm saying that it's becoming obvious right now. Okay? It's becoming very obvious. Now, all day today, I've been realizing that everything that's been going live that's been talking about election fraud and all of that stuff, I haven't been getting notified for it. None of the notifications have been happening. And even if you search for it, you're not going to find it until it's after it already been up for an hour or so. There is some weird stuff going on today. What you just seen was not currently live. I'm not trying to mislead you, but when I found that live video, they were showing the video that had just ended from President Trump's Facebook account when he was live an hour ago, when no one was notified and no one was able to watch it. So that's the situation. So let me get some shout outs here, because we had some very generous donations and whatnot. So huge shout out to T. Mark Hightower. Thank you so much for the very generous donation. I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate the support. Thank you so much. Thank you, Craig. I really appreciate your donation and all your support. Thank you. And Mr. Tix, as always, thank you so much for your donation, and I really appreciate you. Big shout out to James for joining the membership program. You're officially a hooligan. Let's see, I want to make sure I didn't forget no one. Thank you so much, Scuba Steve. I really appreciate your donation and all your support. Thank you so much. Now, everyone in the chat who's here for real purpose, right? You're here to see what's happening. You're here for the first time, possibly. Hey, thank you so much, Quiet Storm. I really appreciate your donation and all your support. As I'm saying, everyone here who's actually here to see what's going on and see what's happening live, there's some weird stuff happening. Now, as far as I know, I believe Mr. Giuliani is supposed to be part of a meeting or something like that happening in the next 20 minutes or so. But as of right now, I think we're going to shut this live feed down, because I want to be able to save this just in case they decide to take these videos down, which is not unheard of. It's weird how this stuff is going. You know, when I started doing this and people were telling me I was being censored, I was skeptical, right? I'm not going to lie. I was skeptical. I was new to all of this. But when they censored me on YouTube, even then, I was really skeptical, until I had other YouTubers who were restreaming. They don't do exactly what I do, but they do similar things. And they were getting the same answers from the same customer service from Google. When I told them, I wrote in a many posts about the Senate investigating Facebook, Twitter, as well as Google for crimes against humanity, for censoring the American people. When I wrote that to customer service, 20 minutes later, my account could go live again. Yesterday, I believe it was, maybe the day before yesterday, I was censored on Facebook because I shared my link to my live, and I was unable to use certain parts of Facebook for almost the entire day. But no one around me was experiencing those problems. I made a different account, and I was not experiencing those problems. As soon as I wrote customer service saying, I'm aware that the Senate's investigating you guys for censoring the American people, 5 minutes later, my Facebook account was unlocked after I sent them screenshots of all of it. Now, I'm a little less skeptical now on how the censoring is working. And then now today, to censor the president, there's something weird going on. And I'm fully in belief of it. And you don't have to believe me. You're here to watch it live. And it's super duper crazy. So let's get some more shout outs. Man, I really appreciate you guys. You guys are so awesome. Thank you so much, Greg, for your donation and all your support. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, Smack One. You're awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Gino Fast. I really appreciate your donation and all your support. Thank you, Stormy. I really appreciate you and all your support. And thank you, Cal L of Krypton. I really appreciate your donation and all your support. So give me a second here. I'm going to see if they're getting ready to let Rudy Giuliani, I don't want to mispronounce his name. I want to see if he's getting ready to speak. And I think either way, we're going to end this live stream so I can archive it while starting the next live stream so we can see what's going to happen during this hearing. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I know that we see so much crazy stuff. We go through a lot of crazy stuff, and especially all the crybaby trolls in the chat. You know, it really irritates everyone to see everybody crying and being so ignorant. You got to think there's a reason they're here. You should see my ban list. There's over 500 people on my ban list. People are getting banned all day, every day. And not my hooligans, not my supporters, not the people who are just here to watch and learn. The people who are showing hate, the people that are harassing other people. And it's at the point where I'm just reporting their accounts now. Because, I mean, to use an electronic device to harass somebody or stalk someone, that's a federal crime, okay? There's no reason to just ban them. I'm going to just report them. And anybody that wants to email me and feel some type of way about that, I will send your email straight to the state police. Try me, okay? I'm not messing around. You will not harass me, and you will not harass my hooligans, and that's all there is to it. Thank you so much, Undecided. I really appreciate you and all your support. So give me a second here. Oh, thanks, Puddin' Puss. You're awesome. Thank you so much for your donation and all your support. So just a moment. I'm going to check and see what's going on, and then I'll update you in just a second. All right, as of right this second, I am not seeing anything going live, but I really can't trust it. You know, I have to dig into it more. I don't want you guys just sitting here staring at a black screen. That's not why I do this. So what I want you guys to do, and I'm going to post a link, I want you guys to join the Discord, okay? YouTube is dampening my reach, even though, oh, and big shout out to everyone. We just hit 30,000 subscribers, by the way. Thank you guys so much. Like, so amazing. So amazing. Never thought it would be like this. It's awesome. It's so awesome. So thank you guys so much for everyone that is subscribed. So if you guys have noticed, whenever I go live, some of you are not getting notified. Even though you have the bell icon tagged and all of that stuff, you're not being notified. So if you're experiencing this, you need to download the Discord app. It's free. And click the link in my description. I'm also going to post it in the chat. And you need to join the Discord. I post in there every single time we go live. Like the minute I go live, I post in there. And if you have the app and you're a part of my Discord, you will be notified. There is no algorithm in the Discord. So you will be notified. You will see that I posted. You can click the link and come straight to the channel. And that way you'll never be late for another live. So I'm going to post the link and go from there. So thank you so much to Smack1 for joining the membership program. You're officially a hooligan. Oh, we got a couple people. Thank you so much, T-Mark Hightower, for joining the membership program. You're officially a hooligan. All right. So make sure you join the Discord. Okay. Click the link. Check it out. Do whatever you got to do to be a part of it, because you can't rely on the YouTube notification system. I tried to do an email system. That's another thing. I tried to do an email system through a company called MailChimp to send out mass text messages to notify all of you every single time I go live. The very first day I clicked to send out that first live notification, I received an email from MailChimp saying that they have banned my account, and it's because they don't support what I do. And they told me that I am not able to use their service because of the content that I provide, which I thought was very interesting. And I'm not sure how that's not censorship, but that didn't work out. I was trying to look into mass text messages so I could text all of you every time we go live. They wanted $900 a month. I can't afford that. Okay. So you're going to have to join the Discord if you're really serious about getting notified. Just a moment. I got to report somebody. I can't believe these trolls haven't figured out YouTube censors stuff. Okay. So for anybody that's crying and all that stuff, nobody can see you. Okay. Your chat is grayed out. So when you're telling people to do hateful stuff, nobody can actually see you. And then you got reported and banned at the same time. So good for you. Anyways, for everybody who's in support, everybody who's here every day, everybody who enjoys what we do and the truth we find, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much, Ruby, for joining the membership program. You're officially a hooligan. All right, guys. I seen somebody post that it's supposed to happen at 3 o'clock Central Time, I believe it said. I got to figure out the time difference. I got to figure out the best place to stream from so we can get all of that content. But I'm going to shut this down so I can download it. Thank you guys so much for being here. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you join the Discord, and then you'll get notified when we go live in a few minutes. Thank you, everyone.